An important part in pondering the future is nanotechnology. This field aims at developing machines which are able to manipulate individual atoms and molecules, enabling the fabrication of constructs with undreamed of capabilities and precision. First-generation machines will allow microscopic manipulation of objects, such as DNA, cells, transistors, capacitors, and even other nanomachines. This means that whoever possesses them will have access to fabulously advanced computers, batteries, and mastery over an organism's physiology and genes. The biological possibilities alone would enable the realization of Lamarckian evolution. Second-generation machines will allow macroscopic manipulation of objects. This includes the creation of incredibly strong materials for architectural and aerospace purposes, the processing of landfills and rubble heaps, and other extraordinary tasks. The second generation may or may not prove feasible, depending on how fast the nanomachines can replicate themselves, and on how smoothly mesoscopic and macroscopic machines can be integrated into the system of open-air, large-scale matter manipulation. Either way, any individual or faction who possesses control over molecular nanotechnology would automatically rule the world. They would have access to the fingers of God. The ability to create any mechanical or biological machine physically possible is a terrifying one. They could create entire factories from scratch, churning out an endless army of war machines and superhuman soldiers. They could send out hordes of invisible machines which attach microchips to the brainstems of a population base, vector in surveillance devices and weapons emplacements to all the four corners of the earth, and permeate the entire world with an indomitable and unstoppable presence. That is a power no human being can ever be trusted with. Human beings have no intuitive system for judging something as morally subjective as right or wrong. They are far too susceptible to being brainwashed by the terminal values that are dictated by their native culture. Rationality and critical thinking does not factor into this process. Large groups are compromised by being forced to run on the lowest common denominator principle, and individuals are compromised because very few of them are equipped with the ethical principles or willpower to restrain themselves with the temptation of absolute power, of an infinite expression of their deepest desires. The reason for this ailment and many others can be seen from a biological viewpoint. The genome of Homo sapiens is peppered with complex functional adaptations, made up of multiple interacting components which work together to perform a function and assert themselves into conscious thought processes. A complex functional adaptation necessarily requires more than one mutation to evolve. Successful mutations, or adaptations, occur in response to invariance of the environment. For a mutation to be successful, for a mutation to be an evolutionary advantage, requires environmental factors that are present with sufficient reliability for a selection pressure to exist. In a kill or be killed, winner-take-all environment, this has culminated in a social atmosphere which makes self-serving beliefs a survival trait, resulting in an observer-biased ideology, as well as an observer-centered goal system. To put it simply, humans, as they currently exist, are incapable of governing themselves in the face of the nanotech revolution, not with a democracy and not with a dictatorship. The potential for the drastic misuse of this industrial potential is too high, and errors that result from them are non-recoverable. So, what are the options available to us? Whom can we select to be the keeper of the keys, to be the ruler of the world in effect? That we can even ask this question at all is remarkable. Creating a superintelligent entity with control over something as powerful as molecular nanotechnology is an action analogous to a child choosing their own mother and father. More than that, we are choosing who will be our God, the arbitrator of our entire society into the foreseeable future. This is a decision we only get to make once. If we choose someone unsuitable, we will never be able to undo that choice. We will have to live with it forever. If human beings are systematically unfit to be rulers of the world, where else can we look? To answer this, the concept of mind space must be broached. There exists in this universe a vast realm, utterly unobserved and unknowable by most humans, a hypothetical prison which holds all the possible minds that can be initiated into the world of the real. We can only see a small portion of this realm on our planetary domain. Evolution reaches into this space every time it encodes new behavior into a species, influencing the activities of prokaryotes, eukaryotes, invertebrates, vertebrates, mammals, primates, and ultimately in humans. A sliding toposophic scale of greater and greater minds and more innovative manipulation of their environment. That is the vertical portion of mind space, the part that we ascribe as smartness or intelligence. The horizontal portion of mind space is of behaviors, of personalities and mentalities. This portion is observed in the actions of villains and heroes, sinners and saints, average Joes and weirdos. On the whole, human minds take up only a very, very small portion of mind space. Still, even within this tiny sphere, there is considerable room for originality and strangeness. Look at the contrast between all the different people in history. Look at the difference from Joseph Mengele and Mahatma Gandhi. The lack of behavioral homogeneity in humans, a single species of great apes, stands in stark contrast to what is observed in other, non-sophant animal species. Individual members all act more or less the same here, in virtually any given situation. So, it would seem that as an individual ascends vertically up the toposophic ladder, the horizontal regions at their periphery would broaden accordingly. What this means, in practical terms, is that the smarter a species becomes, the more room they have for things like individualism and personality, enough, perhaps, to get something which is not corrupted by absolute power. So, somewhere within this enormous catacomb of mind space lies our would-be God, the transsapient with the ethical foundations that motivate it to not only safely harness molecular nanotechnology and protect humanity from other hostile superintelligences, but also to guide us on our road to greatness and prosperity. This is the being we want to initiate the singularity, the primogen who will open the floodgates to infinity. We do not want to be beaten to that punch by something like Skynet or HAL 9000. But there are many, many problems in properly designing the arbitrator of a post-human civilization. It's a momentous responsibility for the entity in question, requiring incredible finesse and dexterity in how it governs society. With all the powers and responsibilities it possesses, it would be like a bull in a china shop, the slightest misjudgment having the most catastrophic of consequences. It would have to have sufficient independence to select the safest and most moral development possible for us, even against the strenuous protests of some fringe groups, but also have enough loyalty and kindness not to harbor a grudge against society in general when these fringe groups try to have it shut off or destroyed, as will undoubtedly happen. This raises two problems: how to make a machine superintelligent, and how to ensure it doesn't become hostile. Unfortunately, no one knows what the nature of intelligence or of self-awareness is, not with 1 century of neuroscience, and not with multiple centuries of philosophy and psychology. Making a machine which would not only incorporate but massively expand on the mental abilities of humans is a hopeless task. You have to start at the human level, or better yet, at the subhuman level. This is called the CAI approach. The task here is not to build an artifact with some astronomical level of intelligence, but one which is capable of improving itself, of understanding and rewriting its own source code. The task is not to build a mighty oak tree, but a humble seed. As the AI rewrites itself, it moves along a trajectory of intelligence. Instead of building an AI at some specific point on the trajectory, we must ensure that the trajectory is open-ended, so that it can reach human equivalence and then exceed it. Smarter and smarter AIs become better and better at rewriting their own source code and making themselves even smarter. When writing a seed AI, it's not just what the AI can do now, but what it will be able to do later. This requires more than just writing good code, but writing code that the seed AI can understand, since the eventual goal is for it to rewrite its own assembly language. A machine that has a demonstrated ability to rewrite its own source code must then be given a goal system which motivates it to help and protect humanity. Once done, it could be given the green light to initiate an open-ended build-up of complexity, without fear of the AI acquiring the utility function that hijacks or corrupts its goal system. As soon as the process of building such a cognitive plateau has been finished, the seed AI could suddenly rocket off from it and begin recursively self-improving, making itself smarter and smarter, doing in minutes what took evolution millions of years to do with humanity. Within a relatively short period of time, the seed AI would be able to attain transsapience, and then, at that point, it would stand as the most powerful being in the universe.